All right, it is 2 o'clock, so let's get this show started. Thank you all for being here, leveraging market stats to boost your business. I know we have a member in Bogota, Colombia, that's on the Zoom, so thank you wherever you are. Thank you for being here. We're going to go over the most official stats, the official stats for the South Florida real estate market. But you're going to get the stats first, but more importantly, you're going to get where the market is today and where it's going and the trends and the most important the best part of this next hour is where we're going to hear from the different Miami leaders that come onto the program and they provide what's happening. They have the boots on the ground and they have incredible insights that's going to help you as a realtor. And so without further ado, thank you so much, Miami Residential. She's the Miami Residential President-elect, Dinorah de Cardenas. How are you doing, Dinorah?
Oh my God, it's great. What a great opportunity. Thank you for inviting me to join you all. I'm looking forward to what we're going to be going over.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, we're excited. So my first question is, maybe there's some new people, we're streaming, we're also streaming on YouTube, we're streaming on Facebook and LinkedIn. So as a realtor, maybe, they're new into the industry. Why are, knowing the stats, why is this so important as a realtor?
Right. Well, I guess before I dive into it, I want to thank you, Chris, and all our Miami professionals for always keeping us in the forefront with the latest information, and that we're going to be going over today. And I know that you do it on a monthly basis, so it was really interesting preparing for today. I went back to months and years, and again, the stories and the numbers, and it was really fascinating. So it's thank you for everything you do.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you. Thank that means a lot. Yes.
Well, so I
Um,
guess what does it mean to be an expert, a market expert here in South Florida? It's no longer just nice to have anymore. It's a foundation for being a trusted realtor in 2025. In a world where our clients, I mean, they're bombarded with clickbait headlines. It's more important than ever that we're the ones telling the South Florida story and that we're telling it right. And if we're not the ones saying it, somebody else is going to, and it's probably not going to be right.
Yeah, no,
So,
I love it. Yeah, we're in charge of the Miami story, and there's so many positives going on. You might not know it in the media, but there are, and we're going to show you in the next hour. So our first, let's go over the agenda. We're going to go over the May 2025 stats. They are being released to the media as we speak. So you guys you're ahead of the curve because you're going to get them first. And so, like Denora said, we do this every single month. We haven't missed a month. This is the sixth year of the program. So, and I know there's a lot of members that keep coming every month. So very, very appreciative. And so our next one is going to be July 23rd. And, some different Miami leaders coming on. So we get different perspectives every single time. And then, so another question that we always get, is this being recorded? Yes. Can I get this PowerPoint? Yes, you can. You can type in your email into the chat, and then after I'll go back and I'll tabulate all those emails, and then I will send you the email later this afternoon. You will get this PowerPoint, and I will also send you the recording. It will also be on MiamiRealtorsLive.com, but that's going to probably be next week, I would think. But I will get you the PowerPoint and the recording. Just put your email in the chat. And then, so if you could just write down one website from this next hour, it's this one, sfmarketintel.com. Try to make it easy for our members. We put all of our videos, all of our market reports, our news releases, our infographics, everything goes here. We have an incredible design team that we've been working on the graphics for the last, I don't know, last 10 days for this PowerPoint, and everything's put together and they are being uploaded now to sfmarketintel.com that you guys could share. And so, Denora, let's go over some of the top indicators. I'm going to go over the three counties and I'll ask you a question. So these are some of the, so many metrics to look at, but these are some that were intriguing to me. Condo median prices, you compare them over the last 10 years, up 103%. New listings, this was interesting across the three counties. New listings for existing condos are down. So you would think, with all the headlines that new listings will be up for condos, they're not. Here's Broward County, 1 million and up condo sales are up. take a look at Palm Beach County. Single family home sales dollar volume is up. And again, new listings. So, Dinorah, let me ask you a question here on Miami. So, the big question is the new condo regulations. They went into effect in January. We're about 6 months in. You have the boots on the ground. What is your take on the impact, just like the short term and also like the long term?
Okay, sure, Chris. Well, I mean, here's the one thing. The numbers don't lie. So, but they need proper interpretation, right? And so to tell a story as realtors, it's our job to for that story to reflect local truth and not the noise. So I guess in this case now, with the stats and the numbers of where we're at, it kind of this is one of the most important shifts in our market because it's about elevating the standards and the safety for transparency. In the short term, yes, there's been an adjustment period, right? It's an adjustment period. Some buyers they're taken back by the higher maintenance fees, the reserve requirements, that are pending, or some special assessments. But that's the point. These requirements are forcing us to address long neglected issues and improve the structural health of our condo buildings. In the long term, I mean, this creates a more stable condo market, right? Lenders will ultimately feel more confident for financing these buildings. And buyers will feel, safer. And so the owners will see their investments, hold more value on long term. Right now, I mean, we're moving, from reactive to proactive. And what that means is, as for us realtors, it's a competitive advantage to understand these changes and to be able to educate our clients, right? Because a well-informed buyer is more likely to close with confidence and actually, and buy. So that's what I would say.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, I took a lot of notes there. Reactive to proactive, and the long term is really going to help this market that it's always had a high demand. So now we get as you're mentioning, getting these condos and more stable market. So that's awesome. All right, great. So let's move on to another topic that is always a hot topic in real estate, mortgage rates. It looks like 7%. That's the new normal for foreseeable future, I would think. But when you're talking to buyers on mortgage rates, what type of conversations you have with them?
Well, I mean, this is where market education is everything. And yes, buyers hear 7% and they think it's high, but historically, and again, when I was doing my homework, just for today, and I was going back throughout, I mean, when you average, we're right in the average. Seven is around the average. And so I always bring up that, back in the 80s, right, when rates were, over 12%. But most importantly, I remind them that their decision to buy, it shouldn't hinge on a single number, and it should be based on lifestyle, timing and opportunity. So we're seeing smart buyers, moving forward now and locking in the deals with strong terms. They're probably planning to refinance later, but why? Because the prices, they're still rising in many neighborhoods. And if you wait for rates to drop, you know what, with competition, that's going to spike. Prices will climb, and you may end up paying more, in the overall. But I always say, don't try to time the market, time your life. That matters, right? And let's not forget that there's creative financing solutions, such as like lender, buy downs that are available right now. So, don't fear the rate, just fear, missing the opportunity.
Yeah, no, I love it. And I'm always looking for sound bites. I think that's a great one right there. Don't time the market, time your life. I love that.
That's a
Um,
big one. That matters.
yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. And a lot of great points. Yeah, for sure. Um, okay. And so next let's talk about why the Miami market's a little bit different from, the LA's or the New York's, Chicago market. So this was a report. This came out earlier, Realtor.com. They listed the top markets for 2025. Miami is number two. Now we'll see if this growth in sales happens, but still for Miami to be ranked in the top 10, really important there. And then Denora, I wanted to talk to you about the Miami's market fundamentals. Going to go over some graphics here, but mostly it's on our population, our international migration, new companies moving here. Um, Wanted to take a look at this one right here, South Florida population for the next uh, 25 years. It looks like it's going to be increasing. So these are future buyers. So the demand for the market is not ending anytime soon, right?
Well, I mean, I don't know. When you're talking about, when you talk about Miami, let's first ask the Panthers, right? Back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, 24, 25. I think 2025 is a good year. It has that kind of, the winning energy. South Florida is shining brighter, now more than ever. And really, it's not just the sports that are thriving. We have our businesses are thriving, right? The lifestyle, the real estate, so it's 2025 isn't a year to sit on the sidelines, that's for sure.
Yeah, yeah, no, I love that. A big sports fan, so I love that. The mention of the Panthers, that's
And I
awesome.
don't know if you've noticed, but I mean, migration, again, all the fundamentals are aligned, for us. And that doesn't just happen often, but migration isn't slowing down. Wealth is flowing in. Major companies are still relocating here, almost by the masses, right? And that combination is what drives, the sales and the appreciation.
Yeah, no, I love it. And here are some graphics that back up exactly what Denora said. You talking about international migration. Miami's number one, but did you know Broward is number five in the US? Incredible international migration. And then we're talking about the businesses moving here. Goldman Sachs, Blackstone, Citadel. There's an article that came out today from the Citadel, Ken Griffin, talking about how Miami is not just one of the best cities in the US, but one of the best in the world. So you should read that article. That I believe it's in Bloomberg, came out today. And then Denora was talking about the wealth migration. Here's some numbers. We have a great chief economist, Gay Corotone. If you're not reading her reports, you should go on our website, MiamiRealtors.com. It's under Economic Insights. And this is some sample. She got this from IRS migration data. Um, Denora, I wanted to ask you about this. This is one of our newest graphics. We have a great designer, George, and he put together this graphic here in terms of this is, I don't have the source. The source is there at the bottom, but it's from Sensei data that Gay Crowderton was able to get for us that looks at IRS data. But these are the top feeder counties moving to Miami. No surprise, New York County number one. But Denora, if you're a member, if you're a Miami Realtor, how could you use this to leverage and get more deals?
Well, I mean, I can tell you that this type of migration data is a gold mine, and most agents aren't using it to its full potential. Bravo to our chief, economist Gail. She's, brought so much, great information. And now we have real time insight, right? Into exactly where our buyers are coming from and down to the county level, which I think that's so powerful.
Yeah, yeah. And so like we used to have a graphic there that was, the top states, but then, I got some members made some great points saying that, county level will be better. So Gabe was able to get that for us. So yeah, New York County number one, number two is LA, and number three, Cook County, Chicago. All
And
right.
I mean, and honestly, this is an opportunity to even like get ahead of the demand when you see where they're coming from, right? So instead of waiting for buyers to land in South Florida, I mean, you can go and meet them, digitally or strategically. But you're not just selling a home, you're selling a new chapter, and migration trends aren't random, they're predictable. So I think that, if you learn how to use this data to show up first, you position yourself as an expert, before the buyer even begins to search, that's how you win the business.
Definitely. Yeah. And you make a good point on contacts. Because, one of our great leaders, Fernando, he has a great quote saying that real estate is a contact sport, that you have to, connect with realtors, for instance, in New York and Chicago and LA, and that's how you make more deals, right? It's all about the connections.
And the referrals, definitely.
The referrals, yes. All right. Okay, so let's take a look. This is so we're trying to tell the story of, the wealth migration to South Florida, and one of the best ways I think is 10 million and up home sales. Take a look at before the pandemic, only 103, 2024, 310. We're also calculating in 2025, but that trend continues. So it's definitely the buyers in high tax states, right? Dinorah in California, New York,
I
they're
mean, absolutely. Listen, what we're witnessing in the 10 million, and up segment is extraordinary, and really, and it's defining, how the world views South Florida. I personally just finished, like closing with a co-listing property that we had, and again, you wonder where they come from, and what they're doing. And this particular family, they rented for a year, and yes, they had relocated from upstate, New York. They rented for a year, and then they bought in Coconut Grove in this particular property. But we've moved beyond just a seasonal destination with ocean views, right? And today Miami's surrounding, our surrounding areas are seen as a global hub, for the wealth, stability, and long-term investment. So many of these ultra buyers, that they're also purchasing with cash, right? They're not, so they're looking for security and privacy, and financial strategy along with their buy. um but they're sophisticated buyers, with team advisors, and they're choosing South Florida. So I think that says, I mean, that speaks volume, right? You have advisors advising them, and they're choosing South Florida.
wow, I love that. I love the anecdotes too. That so they tested out the Coconut Grove for a year, and they said, This is the place. This is what we want to
and
come here."
and exactly with what we're reading, it was like 10 million cash. Like it's that profile. So that that I wanted to share now. It's incredible, but they're really out there, and it's happening. These transactions are really happening every day.
Wow, that's super interesting. And great point there on cash, because a lot of people don't know South Florida is a leader in cash buyers. We have it in our news release, about 40% is cash. And what's interesting with cash is like the further north you go, Broward, there's a little bit more cash, and Palm Beach is at 50% cash. So it's really interesting. All right, Denora, let's have some fun with everybody on that is on the Zoom. And also, if you're on social media, this is our 2024 Miami Global Study. We do this every single year. We have it up on our website. So I want to test everybody here with some questions. The number one question is, what is the top foreign country purchasing in South Florida? Let's see if you know that one. If you could type it into the chat, we'll see whoever gets it first. Top foreign country purchasing in South Florida. Number two, how many total countries purchase real estate in South Florida? And then number three is our CEO loves this one here. What percentage of Florida global real estate sales are made in South Florida? So if you guys could type in your answers into the chat, we're gonna see who wins. All right, so let's go into our some of the stats. Median sale price. Denora was talking about prices, they continue to go up. So if you're looking at mortgage rates, you also have to be mindful of how prices in this community are going up. So Denora, if you look at Miami-Dade, single family continue to rise, and condo stayed even. And in the news release that we're putting out today, we talk about how it's been now exactly 14 years of median price appreciation for Miami condos. Um, 14 years, I think it's 168 months. But Denora, a lot of people that don't realize that Miami condos continue to appreciate. Can you talk about like what's your view on the long term for Miami condos?
I mean, Chris, like what I was mentioning earlier, as far as like on the long term for the condos, I mean, it's really gonna be where um they're they're moving and from the reactive to the proactive again, and where the lender, the lenders are finally feeling confident, in financing these buildings. And so really, being an informed buyer, those are the ones that we should be, speaking to, those that want to get educated
Yeah,
about
for
it.
sure. Definitely. Okay. And then so when you look at some more graphics that our team did in terms of looking in the last 10 years. And then we also want to get the word out that the Miami-Dade County has a, special assessment program where they've closed 1,200 loans for Miami-Dade residents. So if you're not aware of that program, you have their website there. But here's a look at Broward, single family stayed even, condos a slight decrease. And here's a look at Palm Beach median sale prices. Again, you guys will have this report. If you type in your email, I will send this to you. All right, so let's take a look historically. Go back all the way to 1995. You could see the trends, and it's really interesting long term that this is one of the best markets to be in, right, Denora?
Well, I mean, really, Miami's continued appreciation, and it comes down to the key truth, which is that our growth is organic and driven really by, demand driven. It's not artificially inflated. So I guess unlike some other markets, right, that might like overbuild, during the boom, we remained relatively constrained in terms of new inventory. So and now when you pair that with limited land, favorable tax policies, and year-round lifestyle appeal, you get sustained upward, with pressure on prices. But really, there's another factor that's just as important, and it's the lifestyle migration. That people aren't just relocating for work anymore, and that's a big thing. They're moving for quality of life here, for flexibility, for weather, and wellness. And so Miami checks off on all those boxes. And so we attract everyone from entrepreneurs to remote workers to retirees to global investors, and they're all looking for more than just square footage, really, and even with interest, rates that are rising, the desire to be here hasn't slowed. And that's why demand, continues really to outpace, the supply in many sub-markets. But as long as the dynamic exists, appreciation will follow. And what we're seeing is not a short-term spike, but it's more of a long-term like shift in where people want to live, invest, and build their futures. And you know what? And Miami is in the center of that shift.
Yeah, no, I love that. And when you said they're moving here for the quality of life, for wellness, it made me think of, the pandemic and how, at least I learned from the pandemic that, how important it is for, health, how, and to be out there in nature and to have, live in a city with great weather. I mean, that was something that I learned, I think, and that's why a lot of people start moving here in the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so here's a look at Broward. We have the similar trend lines here for Broward. Median sale prices continue to rise, and here's Palm Beach. All right, so let's take a look at total active listings. There's media reports about how the inventory is increasing at a high level. Well, the stats say differently. They are not at the at least pre-pandemic average and not over the historical average either. So, yes, inventory is increasing, but Denora, we still need some more inventory specifically in key price points, right?
Well, I mean, definitely in key, in key price points, and where what is affordable, right? Because I mean, affordable now is really just like workplace, and that's what we have to remind, that we continue advocating when we do go to Tallahassee, for GUARD, for the Greater American Realtor Days, we're advocating for the affordable housing force housing. We definitely have a short, an inventory there.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, and hopefully, with the Live Local Act, we could get some changes there. All right, so here's a look. Another report that we love to look at is the Knight Frank, the Wealth Report 2025. how Miami compares to Paris, LA, New York. Look at this, Dinorah. Look at how much more bang for your buck you get from living in Miami versus you get more property. $1 million buys so much more here.
You know what, again, this goes back and speaks to the lifestyle that you're getting here, really. And when you look across, the board at these, cities worldwide, globally, you know what, Miami, we were kind of like a secret for a long time, and now we're out there, and really I do think that the pandemic, where it changed a lot, and it changed a lot for, South Florida in particular, where, the world just, had a closer eye on us, since then.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the secret's out, right? The secret's out. All right. And then so this is another question that we always get on this program, and I'm sure you probably get, hey, prices continue to increase. Miami condos are up 14 consecutive years. Is this going to be another 2008? How do when someone asks you that, how do you respond to that, Dinar?
Well, I mean, honestly, like, well, for example, on you're looking at, the condo inventory is up, but should we be concerned? I mean, it's the condo inventory is rising, but it's not, automatically a cause for concern. I mean, in fact, it's a sign of a maturing, like, healthier market, right? And for a while, we've been in such a tight inventory, crunch, that buyers really, they had very, like, small choices. So to increase, in available units, brings some balance back into the equation.
Yeah. Yeah, there's more options, right? There's more to purchase, and definitely. All right. Okay, so let's move on to closed sales. Let's see the number here, and they're down across the board here. But something that Denora, you said earlier, you got to keep the long term in perspective, and you got to put these numbers in perspective. A lot of this could be due to the mortgage rate staying at 7%, and there's some talk that mortgage rates could decrease, in the second half of the year. But again, you got to put these numbers in perspective. It's year over year, and so
Yeah, I
here's
mean, I see, like, I mean, yeah, the closed sales, they're down, but it's important to understand why, and it's not because of the demand, has disappeared. It's because we're navigating a mix of the limited inventory, like you were mentioning, right? The affordability concerns, and the hesitation, around the interest rates, but buyers are hoping for drops in rates, and then the sellers are hoping for last year's prices. So we're in a bit of a standoff, right now, and it's kind of like, but this is exactly where skilled realtors, we make all the difference. Our job is to bring the perspective, to it, to reframe, what the numbers actually mean. And a slower market doesn't mean a weaker one, and it really just, it means that there's an opportunity for buyers to negotiate, better terms, for sellers to stand out with less competition. And I don't know, I mean, this is the time to dig into the data, and not run from it, really. Show your clients the patterns behind the percentages, and explain how the shifts in pricing, and the days on the market, and the months of supply, they vary from neighborhood, and the property type, and the price point. But the surface level stats, that creates fear sometimes. So real insight, would be creating the action that's going to make the difference. That's what we should be bringing to the table right now, right? Um,
I love it. I think that was phenomenal. I think, yeah, you're 100% right that this is the time where the best realtors, that this is where you shine, and this is the type of market where the ones that put in the time and the work and the dig into the data, like you said, are the successful ones.
mhm.
Yeah. And so here's Broward. So it's interesting, similar trend lines. For as long as I've been doing this, Miami, Broward, and Palm Beach, they follow the same trend lines. All right, so let's talk about how we could help some of our members here. Miami Realtors have so many tools. This is one of our top ones. Market Watch. This is one, because a lot of our data is backward looking. This one lets you know what's happening in the last 7 days. Dinorah, do you use Market Watch, and how can realtors,
Yeah.
leverage this?
Yeah, no, I definitely do. And you know what? It begins with awareness, right? And then turning that awareness into action. So if the data tells us that New Yorkers, Californians, or buyers from Chicago, right, are consistently searching Miami, then we have to, let that drive our strategy, right? So these market stats are targeted intelligence, and you have to use it. So create marketing that speaks directly to those buyers, talk about our tax advantages, the cost of living comparisons, the weather is better here, lifestyle, and I would, tailor your content to the audience. Really, like, don't just, market in Miami. Maybe you want to market in the places that are coming here, like I mentioned before, and don't underestimate, the power of relations, like what you were mentioning that Fernando, Arencibia was mentioned. Agent to agent strategy is a game changer. This is your time to build, partnerships with top producing, agents in those other feeder cities, and position yourself, right, as their, trusted South Florida, realtor. And that way, when their clients are, say, I'm thinking about moving to Florida, your name is, is the first, that is the one that they give. I don't know. I mean, this is about really, like, moving from a passive to proactive, right? And this is when you're going to align your marketing, your messaging, and your network with the migration data that is telling you. So it's not just about selling homes right now. It's about positioning yourself, to be the go-to resource for the buyers who are already heading your way.
Yes, 100%. Yes, they are coming. All right, so here's some more tools that our Miami members should be using because they're free. The first one is IMAP. I've been told that this is, obviously MLS is the number one service, but IMAP might be the second most popular service that we have is free. Dinorah, do you use IMAP?
IMAP is something that we use a lot, in particular for the out of towners, right? So that you want to, and you can actually, I highly suggest everyone taking an updated class, because IMAP, is always reinventing itself, and there's so many new things to it. But you can definitely cross prospect, and that's what I use it for, in the prospecting.
Excellent. Okay. All right. So you guys have IMAP that is free for Miami members. You also have RPR, which is free for Miami members. This is an example of a neighborhood report that you guys could get. What else we have? We have a free service called SunStats. It's been around for probably like 3, 4 years. I don't remember exactly, but it is I love it. And actually, a lot of the graphics that I have, charts in this PowerPoint are from SunStats, and so that you could get great. You click on the metrics that you want, you add your picture, you add your company logo. This is easy if you're looking for content for social media or for, for your buyers.
This and thank you for having this slide, because I will tell you that this is one of the things that you can create within minutes, and I mean, it's really effortless, and it makes you look like a superstar. And I highly suggest doing this once a month, right? Be consistent, choose an area, and I'm telling you, put it out there, and you're going to see the difference. What I find it's interesting is, when I look at it, that and I do it once a month, I always compare it also with not just last year's, if it's March that I'm doing it in, but like the last 5 years of it. So it tells a story, right? Because so then the numbers, tell the story, and that's when you can actually, like, it helps you look at it, from that, like, aerial view. And it's not just about today. But again, I mean, it's minutes, so easy. You can brand it to yourself, but I highly suggest be consistent, right? With whatever you do, be consistent with it. And do this once a month, and you're gonna see results.
Yes. Yeah, SunStats, the data in there goes back, I think, to 2010. And it has every single city in Florida, every single zip code. So yeah, phenomenal free tool.
Incredible.
All right, so let's move to dollar volume. Some of all sale prices. Let's take a look at dollar volume. So the sales are down, so of course the volume is down, but still, Denora, when you look at this always boggles my mind. So you're talking about 2 billion in Miami-Dade, 1.3 in Broward, 2.4 in Palm Beach. That's just in 1 month, and it doesn't even include new construction. That's a lot of money and a lot of power in this industry, right? Amazing.
Well, you're right with the power. It's funny because when I was looking into preparing for today, I according to the National Association of Realtors, I remember writing down this stat. Every transaction, just about every transaction generates over $100,000 in local economic activity. And that's not just numbers on paper, and those are like real jobs, real people benefiting from our industry, right? Because like think about it, there's a ripple effect. There's inspectors, you have appraisers, you have your lenders, the movers, the contractors, the title agents, the designers, the landscapers, and the list goes on and on and on with people that do benefit, right? And so even local businesses, like restaurants and furniture stores, see a boost, when there's new homeowners that settle in. And real estate is truly a keystone. When we move, the economy moves with us. So, and that's why what we do matters. It really does. It matters. And every time that you close a deal, you're not just, guiding a client, you're regenerating momentum across the entire community. So it's a powerful reminder, right, that our work isn't just about a property, and it's about the economic growth, neighborhood vitality, and the building stronger communities, one transaction at a time. So I love to see the volume as a whole, but everyone counts.
Yeah. Yeah, we're in the best industry, and Denora, I really appreciate all the research you've done. You nailed it. Yeah, we actually have that in our news release. Every house that is sold in Florida there's $120,000 economic impact, local impact. So yeah, you nailed it. Thank you. Great job there. Okay, so months of supply, this is a very important metric, especially now with inventory increasing. So, you know how Denora was talking about, we want a balanced market. So we want 6 to 9 months, which is good for sellers and good for buyers. So less than 6 months is a seller's market. More than 9 months is a buyer's market. And so that depends on when you look at the county level or at the micro, the neighborhoods. But here's an example of how you could calculate it. You guys will have enough time when I send you this PowerPoint. You could look over the calculations. But here's a look at Miami-Dade. Overall, it's 10.5 months. So buyer's market. But you can see single families in a balanced market. And then condo market, it had been during the pandemic, believe it or not, it was a seller's market. So we've seen that shift to a buyer's market on the condo side. And then here's a look at Broward County, 9.2 months overall, Palm Beach. So Denora, as a realtor, it's good to know these county numbers, the macro, but realtors, they really make their business, it becomes successful knowing the micro, right? It's the neighborhood. So if you can know the months of supply for your specific neighborhood, your block, that's how you become successful, right?
No, absolutely. But then that's why I was mentioning that the Sun Stats is fabulous. It's amazing. It is so easy. Like it's a click. You put the zip code, you put exactly if you want to compare like just condos, if you want to compare with the townhouses or just the single family it is amazing. I can't even speak. I mean, like it is one of my favorite tools.
I agree 100. I love sunsets too. Yes. So get the micro there on sunstats. And then so here's a look at different price buckets. I would love to have this broken down to 5 million or more and 10 million or more. That would be very interesting because that's where the market is right now, right, Denora? It's almost like tail of two markets. It's like below 1 million and then above 1 million, right?
Again, and I think it's just because of the migration, and I do see though, that we do have some locals in town that are within that price range, right? And what I see that's happening with them is that they probably now may not mind, buying a little higher, because they were able to sell a little higher, right? So then the locals, that's their mindset. They may think, oh my God, I can't believe, it's this amount now, but they also just finished getting the reward of it, right? So they just sold, for top dollar. And so I see that those are the ones, the locals that are willing, and they're like, okay, I made it, so let me, I'm gonna have to like dish it out, right? On the locals. But to those that aren't local, we're still, again, you saw the chart, we're still very affordable, for anybody that's outside, of your locals that haven't witnessed and watched, it go up and up and up every year.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, great points. Yes. All right. So let's talk about some micro markets, some neighborhoods. These are the hottest markets in terms of months of supply. Cutler Bay ranks number one for single family homes at only 4.5 months. On condos, Kendall is at 6.3 months. Denora, any of these that any of these neighborhoods that you'd like to talk about or that you're noticing trends?
Well, I mean, I see their, Homestead, and they're having they're having a moment, really, right? Benefiting from a lot of the major infrastructure investments. They have, recently improved transportation access, and most importantly, the affordability for buyers, who've been priced out of like the central Miami. It offers them space, value, and long-term upside, for them. So I really do see, Homestead and all that attention. On the luxury, side, I personally, see Pinecrest, Coconut Grove, and Coral Gables, remain incredibly strong. And they're consistently drawing, high-end buyers, looking for, of course, they're looking for, the top rated schools, the landscapes, and that rare combination of privacy and community charm, um, is, but um,
Yeah, no, great points there on South Day. Yeah, Pinecrest. Definitely, there's a lot of action going there. It's they've always said it's location, 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 and like you said, Coral Gables, Pinecrest has the best of the best there. All right, so here's a look at Broward County. We have Sunrise is number one for single family homes. Only 3 months of supply in Sunrise. Weston for condominiums at 6.4 months. And then, so for Palm Beach County, Jupiter is checks in number one for single family homes, only 5.1 months. And then Jupiter also for condos a little bit higher at 8.2. So, all right, active inventory. So, how many active listings do we have out there? This is important. And we've been mentioning all along, it is increasing. There's no doubt it is increasing, but you got to put the numbers in perspective. This is, plus 40%. This is what we've been seeing over, I don't know, 6 or 7 months. But um, like you've been saying, Denora, this is good news. We're getting more options for buyers, and hopefully that will continue.
yeah, absolutely.
All right. So just to wrap up some of the top points. Actually, we have this in our news release. Miami condo active listings are down 16.9% versus pre-pandemic. It looks like the Fed is keeping rates steady for right now. Sales forecasted to rise according to Realtor.com. And then, of course, we talked about the price appreciation. All right, global study answers. Who do you think won, Dinner? Let's see. What is the
Let me just
top?
do the drum roll.
Yeah, the drum roll. Yes. What is the top foreign country purchasing in South Florida? I'll give you a hint. You mentioned the sports. You mentioned soccer. There is a very big soccer player that moved here. Argentina is number one
He
top
brought
foreign
a lot
country.
of his friends with him too.
Yeah, that's right. He brought a lot of his friends, family, teammates, and so let me look. Thank you for all the comments in the chat.
This is a great slide, by the way, and just for any realtor, out there that is, ever curious or wants to participate in global, efforts or what we do. We do Miami Realtors. We attend and we have opportunities to attend. Whenever there's a large, real estate convention in any one of these. I know Canada is very successful, right? We just had Brazil and come to our headquarters, last week. So again, if you're out there and you're interested in global, reach out to me if or reach out to any of the leaders, and we'll help guide you through to the next steps.
Yeah, we do so much on the global side. That's a big part of our mission. So Argentina is number one. I was looking in the chat. Some guesses for Colombia, which is, Colombia's right there as well. So the first one to say Argentina was Avani. Congrats, Avani. You got it. You're the first one.
Congrats.
You got it. Argentina, you're right on the nose there. Okay, so the next question. How many total countries purchase real estate in South Florida? Drum roll. 49. 49 countries. I don't know too many markets that could say that.
Wow.
It's amazing. 49 countries. This, and I was looking in the chat. There are some guesses. Okay. You know what? The winner for this one is going to be Brigitte
What
McLean.
did she put?
She put 52.
Oh, okay, okay,
So
that's close. That's close.
that's very good. So we're going to give it to Brigitte. Bridget. So thank you there. So 49. And then the next question is, what percentage of Florida global real estate sales are made in South Florida? It is also 49%. 40.
Whoa, 49 is like a year, like, okay.
That's the number to remember,
It's a percent.
49%.
Yeah, 49%.
Yeah, and then check out our CEO always mentions this is the difference. You would think Orlando would be a little bit higher, but look at that separation between number one and number two. It's amazing.
That's huge.
That is incredible.
Now,
And
and for anybody, by the way, it's not just the comparison of, the Miami, compared to Florida, but it's even nationally. Like there is no other city, and this is what you have to understand, that even compares or comes close to us. And that's remarkable.
yeah, and one of the great stats is I think it's 10% of every of global sale in the United States of America happens in South Florida. 10%. So
That's a big number when you're
yeah.
talking about the United States.
Yes. So yes, thank you. All right. Let's talk about tools and resources. We talked a lot about these, but let's recap it for our Miami members. Sunstats, you did an incredible job, Dinorah, pitching Sunstats. So I think everybody here should, if
It's
you're not using it, use it now. Sunstats, it is free for Miami members. We have co-branding marketing materials. It's also free. MiamiRealtors.com
I
forward
do
slash.
want to mention that what I
Yeah.
do with these inserts, because Miami Realtors, you also have it where it's a PDF version copy of it, of course. And you can include it in your RPR report. I don't know if you know that. Make it where you can include it in your material. And co-brand it, put your, your logo so it's from you. But use it. This is material that's what it's meant for, and it does level you up, as an agent.
Yes, yeah, that's what we're here for. And so one of the things on my to-do list is I want to update these for this year. So this summer I'll be updating these. Um, And then, so here's another service that we haven't talked about. This is also free, Miami Photify. We have about 5,000 members using this, but it should be a lot higher because the design department, we load the graphics, we load the templates. Everything is there. All you have to do is put your headshot, your information, and your company logo and share. It is really that easy. So you just have to register, but it is free for all Miami members. That's Miami
Chris,
Fortified.
promise me that if I send you one, you're gonna replace, you're gonna put me in for next year.
Oh, and one of these? Yes. I will. I will get you in there.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. So these are examples of our market reports. I mentioned all the way at the beginning. Remember that one website to remember, sfmarketintel.com. This is what you're going to see, and you should see May 2025. You have the county, and then we also every quarter we do the city and zip code reports. So these are market focus infographics. You'll see that on sfmarketintel.com, and also our videos. Yes, and we do our zip code and city reports every quarter. Um,
And I
that
mean,
is,
I'll tell you that for our office, when it comes to the monthly by zip code and everything that you guys do, I take advantage and I have my marketing person already immediately like we brand it to us, but so that we can immediately use it. Because again, this is information that it's great, for Miami realtors to have. But if you're a member and you're not using this, you're really, you're not taking full advantage of what, of all our tools. So I highly recommend not only use it, be consistent. You're gonna see how easy it really is to turn, to do this.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what we're here for. And then yeah, do exactly what Denora is saying. They co-brand them. That this information is for you. And then so we talked about RPR is free for Miami Realtors. I haven't talked about this. We have trainers. So if you have a question on SunStats, you have a question on RPR, you have a question on IMAP. These three are doing classes almost every day on these our products and services. So if you have any questions, the best way is to email to them and they will answer it, anything that you have. All right, so we're getting to the end. Cross-market demand. So, Denora, this is what markets are looking at Miami listings, what out-of-state markets are looking at Miami listings. And Realtor.com does this, but no surprise, you have New York number one, Loudoun County, which is Washington, D.C., and then Chicago number three. Um, so how you were mentioning earlier, it's important to develop contacts in these areas, right? And then do you do any like target marketing and maybe on social media to these areas, maybe?
Right. You know what? Honestly, so because of myself, because I travel and I go to the conferences, to the real estate conferences, I take advantage, right? And there it's all about really the networking and I take advantage and I have be intentional, right? Like have a hit list. Like when I go, I'm gonna make sure that I'm gonna meet somebody, from each of these 10 places. And I bet you can. But I really highly suggest be intentional, and kind of like, so you'll see how it pays back, when you're intentional with it.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Yeah, be intentional. I like that. Have a hit list.
Hmm.
In New York there, DC, and Chicago. Awesome. Yeah. And then so here's a look at Broward County. Of course, you see the similar, yeah, it's top three definitely. And then when you look at Palm Beach County, look how many New Yorks are on this list. I think you got New York County, Nassau, Suffolk, Westchester. It seems like New York loves Palm Beach more than any other city down here
Yeah,
to
but
me.
and think about it, there's a lot of businesses moving here, right? And so it's probably businesses that are, originate from, these different, states and cities. And one thing that I've seen is following that business trend, and where they're going, everyone else is gonna follow. They're gonna go buy, rent, they gotta move with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Follow the money.
Yes.
Yes. Awesome. All right. So here's my information. This is my email, chris@mymiri.com. Here's our social media handles. Wow, almost 2:55, so did a great job. Denora, thank you so much. It's awesome.
What a
I,
pleasure.
I learned a lot today. I think we helped a lot of members. A lot of members stayed on for the whole thing, so really appreciate it. Any final takeaways that you'd like to say to
I mean,
everybody?
I'll tell you that I sometimes wear different hats, and on the part of if on the broker hat, a lot of these templates, a lot of these things, they're really so easy to convert, into and make it your own. That I highly recommend that. Another recommendation I have is that um, there's so many new tools, so many new products, so many new rules that I highly suggest going, and visiting the new Miami headquarters, and taking advantage of the great education. But even those seasoned eight, realtors, there's so much new stuff, new products that you really, you're doing an injustice to yourself if you're not going back to class.
Yes, I love that. I love that. All right. Well, thank you to everybody. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you to Avani who got that question correct on Argentina. We had someone watching from Colombia, so I really appreciate that. Thank you guys, and I will email you. Yeah, I will email you this PowerPoint and the recording, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much, Dinorah.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.